What would it be like if we, humans, were to die on each of these alien worlds? The very thought is chilling. From suffocating on Venus to freezing on Neptune, each planet poses its own set of lethal challenges. Today, we explore the horrific fate that awaits anyone who dares venture onto these distant, hostile worlds. Let's dive in. Welcome to Venus, our very own planetary hellscape. If you ever dreamt of visiting, let's be clear, you wouldn't last more than a few seconds. The moment you arrive, the crushing atmospheric pressure, 92 times that of Earth, would squeeze your body as if you were a deep-sea diver suddenly brought to the surface without decompression. Your lungs would collapse, and your organs would be crushed under the immense force. But let's say, somehow, you survived the pressure for a brief moment. You wouldn't have time to celebrate. Venus's thick, choking atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide, laced with deadly sulfuric acid clouds. Every breath would be like inhaling poison. Except you wouldn't even get the chance, because there's no oxygen to sustain life. You'd suffocate in seconds. And then there's the heat. At a blistering 475 DC, 900 DEGF, Venus is hotter than the surface of Mercury, even though it's twice as far from the sun. That's hot enough to melt lead. Your flesh would burn instantly, your eyes would dry out and boil away, and your body would be reduced to a charred husk in no time. Even if by some miracle you avoided being crushed, suffocated, or roasted alive, Venus has one more trick up its sleeve. It's acidic, toxic rain. While it evaporates before reaching the ground due to the extreme heat, the atmosphere itself is a swirling, corrosive nightmare. Your spacesuit, assuming you had one, would degrade rapidly, exposing you to an even quicker and more gruesome fate. On Venus, death doesn't come in just one form. It arrives in multiple, horrific ways, all at once. It is truly the ultimate death trap. A world where survival is not just impossible, it's unthinkable. Welcome to Mercury, a world of violent extremes. If you thought Earth's hottest deserts or coldest tundras were deadly, Mercury takes it to an entirely new level. Here, death isn't just inevitable. It's a matter of how you want to go. Step onto the sunlit side, and you'll be instantly engulfed by the sheer intensity of the sun's unfiltered rays. With no substantial atmosphere to block radiation, you'll be bombarded by lethal solar energy, bathing in temperatures soaring up to 430 DGC, 800 DGF, hot enough to liquefy lead. Any exposed skin will burn immediately, blistering and charring in seconds. Even if you had a spacesuit, most materials would degrade under such extreme heat. Your sweat would evaporate instantly, leaving your body dehydrated in moments. Worse still, the metal components of your suit could become scorching hot, cooking you from the inside, before your body even has time to shut down. But let's say you somehow escaped the hellish dayside and stepped into the darkness. You wouldn't find relief, only a new form of death. On Mercury's night side, where sunlight never touches, temperatures plunge to a mind-shattering 180 DGC, 290 DGF. Your breath would crystallize midair, your eyelashes would freeze together, and any exposed moisture on your body, tears, saliva, even the fluid in your eyes, would turn to ice almost instantly. If you weren't wearing a pressurized suit, your blood would freeze solid in your veins, your skin turning brittle like shattered glass. In mere moments, you'd be little more than a frozen statue, locked in Mercury's eternal night. even if you could somehow survive the temperature extremes. There's another problem. Mercury has no breathable air. With no oxygen, suffocation is inevitable. And since the planet's gravity is only 38% that of Earth's, if you tried to hold your breath, your lungs would expand unpredictably, rupturing in a matter of moments. There's no safe zone on Mercury, no shelter from its merciless conditions. Whether you burn, freeze, or suffocate, one thing is certain: you won't be leaving Mercury alive. Oz, the red planet, often romanticized as humanity's future home, but don't be fooled. This world is not just inhospitable, it's deadly. If you ever set foot here without a spacesuit, your death would be swift and agonizing. The first thing to kill you, the atmosphere, or lack thereof. Mars has an atmosphere that's just 1% the density of Earth, made almost entirely of carbon dioxide. Without oxygen, you'd have only a few desperate seconds before you started to black out. Your lungs wouldn't be able to function, and suffocation would set in almost immediately. If you tried to hold your breath, it would only make things worse. Your lung tissue would rupture due to the pressure difference. Speaking of pressure, Mars's extremely low atmospheric pressure brings another horrifying fate: your bodily fluids. Your saliva, tears, and even the moisture in your skin would start to boil at just a fraction of Earth's sea level pressure. This isn't boiling due to heat, but rather due to the near vacuum environment. Your blood, though protected by your circulatory system for a little longer, would soon start to bubble as well. Within seconds, swelling and extreme pain would take over, and unconsciousness would follow. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, Mars's infamous dust storms arrive. These storms can engulf the entire planet for months, whipping up fine, electrostatically charged dust that clings to everything. The dust is not just blinding, it's also filled with toxic perchlorates, which could poison your body if inhaled. The relentless winds, reaching up to 100 km/h, 60 F, might not knock you over due to Mars's lower gravity, but they would erode and damage any life support equipment you had, cutting off your only chance of survival. Mars may be breathtaking in its desolation, but it is not a home. It is a death trap, a place where the sky deceives, the ground betrays, and the very air ensures your demise. Any dream of life here? Just that. A dream. Jupiter. A planet so massive and inhospitable that setting foot here isn't just impossible, it's unthinkable. Unlike rocky planets, there's no solid ground to stand on. If you tried to land on Jupiter, you wouldn't land at all. You'd fall endlessly until the crushing forces of the planet turned you into nothing. Let's imagine you somehow found yourself free-falling into Jupiter's atmosphere. At first, things might not seem so bad. The uppermost layer is cold, with temperatures around -145 dCC to 134 dF, cold enough to freeze any exposed skin instantly. The lack of oxygen means suffocation would be your first major threat, but if you had a spacesuit supplying air, you'd get to experience the full horror of Jupiter's depths. As you plummet, the pressure starts to build. Jupiter's thick atmosphere is made mostly of hydrogen and helium, but the deeper you go, the denser it becomes. The weight of the gas above you begins pressing down with unimaginable force. Within minutes, the pressure is strong enough to crush a submarine. Your suit would crumple, your bones would be compressed, and your organs would collapse under the relentless weight. You wouldn't just die, you'd be compacted into a human pancake. But let's say the pressure doesn't crush you instantly. That just means you'll have to face Jupiter's storms. And they make anything on Earth look like a gentle breeze. Jupiter's Great Red Spot, a storm larger than our entire planet, has been raging for centuries. The winds here reach speeds of over 640 km/h, 400 mph, slamming you into walls of gas, moving at different speeds. And then there's the lightning. Jupiter's lightning bolts are up to 10 times more powerful than Earth's, capable of vaporizing anything unlucky enough to be caught in their path. If, by some miracle, you kept falling through all of this, you'd reach the deepest layers of Jupiter's atmosphere, where the pressure is millions of times stronger than Earth's. The gases here become so compressed that hydrogen turns into a strange, metallic form, conducting electricity and generating the planet's powerful magnetic field. At this depth, the heat skyrockets to thousands of degrees, hot enough to melt iron. Your body, assuming it hasn't already been crushed or burned, would be completely incinerated. And what lies at the center of Jupiter? Scientists aren't even sure if it has a solid core. If it does, it's buried beneath an ocean of metallic hydrogen under unfathomable pressure. But you'll never reach it, because long before you get close, Jupiter will have torn you apart in every way possible. There's no survival here, no second chances, just an endless, suffocating descent into the most violent, crushing, and chaotic depths in our solar system. Saturn, one of the most mesmerizing planets in our solar system. Its rings make it look almost peaceful. But don't be fooled. This gas giant is as deadly as it is beautiful. And if you ever found yourself falling into its depths, your death would be as inevitable as it is horrifying. Much like Jupiter, Saturn has no solid surface, so forget about landing. Instead, if you somehow found yourself inside Saturn's atmosphere, you would be in a never-ending freefall into an abyss of increasing pressure, heat, and violence. First, you would enter the upper atmosphere, where the temperature is a frigid 180 DFC, 290 DFC, cold enough to freeze any exposed skin in seconds. The air is composed mostly of hydrogen and helium, meaning there's no oxygen to breathe. If you didn't have a spacesuit, you'd suffocate almost instantly. If you did, you'd only prolong the inevitable. As you continue your descent, the winds start picking up. Saturn is home to some of the fastest winds in the solar system, reaching speeds of over 1,800 km/h1, 100 million far faster than the strongest hurricanes on Earth. You'd be tossed around like a rag doll, spinning helplessly through the dense, churning clouds. If your suit wasn't already frozen stiff, it would be ripped apart by the sheer force of the wind, exposing you to the next deadly stage of your journey. The deeper you go, the atmospheric pressure begins to build, and it doesn't stop. Within minutes, the air around you is pressing down with a force hundreds, then thousands of times greater than Earth's atmosphere. Your body, completely unprotected at this depth, would start to collapse in on itself. Your lungs would be crushed, your bones would snap, and your organs would be flattened into pulp. Even if you were in the strongest spaceship humanity could build, it wouldn't last much longer. It would crumple like an aluminum can under the immense weight of Saturn. But let's say you somehow survived the crushing pressure. What lies below is even worse. Saturn's interior is a world of extremes, where hydrogen gas becomes so compressed that it turns into a liquid ocean, and deeper still, into a bizarre metallic hydrogen sea, a fluid that conducts electricity like metal. If you were still falling, you would eventually reach this ocean, where you would be instantly dissolved and obliterated by the overwhelming pressure and scorching heat, which soars to thousands of degrees Celsius. And if falling into Saturn itself isn't terrifying enough, there's one more way this planet could kill you. Its rings. Saturn's famous rings may look delicate and wispy from a distance, but in reality, they are made up of countless icy and rocky chunks, some as small as grains of sand, others as large as mountains. And they are moving at staggering speeds of over 48,000 km/h. 30 p.m. If you tried to pass through them, even the smallest piece of debris would shred you to pieces instantly. A human body hitting an object moving at that speed wouldn't just break. It would vaporize on impact. Saturn may be one of the most stunning planets in our solar system, but it is no place for life. Whether by freezing, suffocation, crushing, or disintegration, one thing is certain: if you fall into Saturn, you are never coming out alive. Uranus! Often overlooked, often misunderstood. From a distance, it appears serene, its soft blue-green hue giving the illusion of a quiet, frozen world. But don't be fooled. Beneath that peaceful appearance lies an atmosphere of poison, a crushing abyss, and a fate unlike any other in the solar system. If you ever found yourself falling into Uranus, your first and most immediate problem would be the air itself. The planet's atmosphere is composed primarily of hydrogen, helium, and methane, a mix that offers no oxygen to breathe. Without a spacesuit, you'd suffocate within seconds, gasping for air that simply isn't there. If you did have a suit supplying oxygen, you'd only be delaying your inevitable horrifying end. As you descend, you'd notice something eerie. Uranus lacks the intense storms of Jupiter and Saturn, but that doesn't make it any safer. In fact, its winds are some of the most violent in the solar system, reaching speeds of 900 km/h, 560 moles. These supersonic gusts would whip you around uncontrollably, sending you spiraling through the dense, freezing clouds. And speaking of freezing, the upper layers of Uranus's atmosphere are among the coldest places in the solar system, with temperatures plunging to -220 DCC 371 DGF. Your body would become numb almost instantly, the moisture on your skin crystallizing into ice before your brain even had time to process the pain. But this is only the beginning. The deeper you go, the worse it gets. Uranus has no solid surface, just an endless descent into increasing pressure and heat. Within minutes, the weight of the atmosphere begins pressing down on you with tens, then hundreds, then thousands of times the pressure of Earth's atmosphere. Your body, already frozen, would now be crushed from all sides. Your ribcage collapsing inward, your skull compressing under the immense force. Even the strongest spacecraft humanity could build wouldn't last much longer. Any vessel would be flattened like a soda can, reduced to rubble before reaching the planet's core. And then, something truly bizarre happens. The crushing depths of Uranus contain a phenomenon almost beyond comprehension. The immense pressure and temperature are believed to turn carbon into diamonds. That's right. As you plummet deeper, your very remains could be compressed into a sparkling gemstone in the darkest depths of Uranus, where temperatures soar to thousands of degrees and pressures reach unimaginable levels. Entire storms of diamond rain may be falling, the result of carbon atoms being forced into crystal form. You wouldn't just be crushed, you'd be transformed. Your atoms rearranged into something that might drift in Uranus's depths for eternity. So, if you were hoping for a dramatic, fiery death, Uranus offers something a little different. Here, you wouldn't be burned alive, nor torn apart by storms. You'd be suffocated, frozen, crushed, and quite possibly turned into a diamond. At least, in the end, you'd go out in style. The most distant of the gas giants, a world of ice and wind, and a planet that would kill you in ways more brutal than you can imagine. From afar, its rich blue color might seem calming, almost inviting. But up close, Neptune is a planet of pure violence, where the atmosphere alone is enough to tear you apart before you ever reach the crushing abyss below. The first thing you'd encounter when approaching Neptune is its winds, and they are the most extreme in the entire solar system. At their peak, they reach 2,100 km/h, faster than the speed of sound on Earth. These winds wouldn't just knock you over, they'd slice through you, shredding any exposed flesh in an instant. If you were unlucky enough to be caught in one of Neptune's monstrous storms, you'd be ripped apart molecule by molecule, as the air itself became a high-speed death trap. But let's say you survive the upper atmosphere. Your descent into Neptune's depths has only begun, and things are about to get far worse. The atmosphere is thick with hydrogen, helium, and methane, meaning there's no oxygen to breathe. Without a suit, you'd suffocate within seconds. If you did have a suit, it wouldn't save you for long, because the deeper you fall, the more the planet itself turns against you. As you sink, the pressure begins to skyrocket. At first, it's only a few times Earth's atmospheric pressure. But keep falling, and soon the weight of Neptune's dense gases bears down with a force thousands, then millions of times stronger than anything you've ever experienced. Your body, flesh, bones, organs would be crushed beyond recognition, flattened into an unrecognizable mass. Even the strongest submarine ever built wouldn't last here. It would be compacted like paper under the immense gravitational forces. And then there's the cold. Neptune is one of the coldest places in the solar system, with temperatures plunging to icy 214 DSC, 353 DSF. If you weren't already dead from suffocation or the wind, the sheer, merciless cold would freeze your body solid, turning you into an icy corpse long before you reach the lower layers of the planet. But what happens if you keep falling? Deeper still, Neptune's gaseous atmosphere transitions into something even stranger. A vast ocean of superheated, high-pressure water and exotic ices. The pressure here is so intense that water behaves in ways unknown on Earth, forming an ocean of hot, dense, ice-like material that could crush anything caught inside it. Your remains, if they somehow still existed, would dissolve into this alien sea, lost forever in the depths of the planet. And far below that, scientists believe Neptune may have a rocky core, but no human, no probe, and no machine could ever reach it. Long before you got close, the atmosphere would have shredded you, the pressure would have flattened you, and the icy abyss would have swallowed you whole. Neptune is breathtaking to look at. but it is also one of the most merciless death traps in our solar system. No human, no spacecraft, nothing could ever survive the violent winds, suffocating gases, bone-crushing pressure, and the frigid depths of this frozen giant. If you ever fall into Neptune, one thing is certain: you won't be coming back. Some still call Pluto a planet, but one thing is certain: this is no place for humans. If you set foot on Pluto without protection, you die faster than you can comprehend, and in ways you wouldn't want to imagine. First, there's the cold, a relentless, unforgiving chill that makes Antarctica look like a tropical paradise. Pluto's temperatures can drop to minus 240 DHC, 400 DEC, 400 DF0, where atoms nearly stop moving. At this temperature, your breath would freeze midair, and any exposed moisture on your skin would turn to solid ice in an instant. But you wouldn't have time to shiver. The atmosphere is almost non-existent, with pressure just 0.00001 times that of Earth. Essentially a vacuum. The moment you step outside, your lungs will collapse as the near void sucks the air from your body. If you try to inhale, there's nothing to breathe. And within seconds, you'll pass out from oxygen deprivation. And then, things get worse. With almost no atmospheric pressure to keep liquids stable, your bodily fluids will begin to boil. Blood in your veins, moisture in your eyes, saliva on your tongue, everything will start turning to gas and expanding uncontrollably. Your body would swell grotesquely, your veins would burst, and within moments, you'd be bloated beyond recognition, before your heart even had time to stop. If that somehow didn't kill you fast enough, Pluto's lethal cold would finish the job. Your frozen body would become brittle, your skin cracking like shattered glass as ice crystals formed inside your cells. If you were wearing a spacesuit, you'd last a little longer, but not much. The extreme cold would weaken materials, making metal shatter like glass and plastics become as fragile as dried leaves. If your suit cracked or failed, even for a second, the frigid vacuum would flash freeze your body solid. And then, there's the darkness. Pluto orbits nearly 6 billion kilometers, 3.7 billion miles from the Sun. Here, daylight is a mere twilight glow, barely brighter than a full moon on Earth. There are no bright mornings, no warm sunsets, only eternal dusk and the endless, frozen silence of deep space. If you die on Pluto, you die alone. Frozen in the blackness, never to decay, never to change. An astronaut-shaped ice sculpture trapped in time forever. Pluto may be small, but its grip is merciless. Step onto this world unprepared, and Pluto won't just kill you. It will preserve you as part of its frozen wasteland, a lifeless relic lost in the void. Space shows no mercy. Every planet brings its own way to kill you, burning, freezing, or crushing you without hesitation. Out here, life is fragile, and death can strike in an instant. Yet, it's our urge to explore that drives us forward. We may dream of the stars, but we must remember, survival out there isn't a promise. It's a relentless fight.